time has arrived. I'd like to open the meeting of the May 21st Select Board meeting. Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, we'll start off with the general warrants.
The general warrants, I believe I have them.
Yep.
And it's for 5/21 through 5/21. There was $113,397.57. I had a couple of questions on that, and they had to do with MS4. This is the first time I've seen MS4. And some was a small amount to Webb, $598. If Alan, what, tell the people what that was for.
The Webb one?
$598 for MS4 at Webb. It's my first time seeing MS4 money being spent.
I had a stormwater structure that was failing up on the corner of Freeborn and Potter Ave. Culvert was rotted, the structure itself was collapsing, so I replaced it and put a new pipe in there. Crew.
Was that one of our designated projects we were going to work on to get credit?
It was not, but this one is right on the corner of a driveway of the customer resident right there. And it was potential of caving in.
Did we get some state funds for that? Grants or anything?
Not for that one, no.
No. What about, maybe you don't know about this other one, it was MS4 for $11,705? What was that for? For Agency of Natural Resources?
A large part of that was for the monitoring contract that we signed. I don't know if you remember, some of the other board members might remember. We had to put in rain gauges and we had to sign a contract. I think there'll be an annual expense for some of that. About $2,000 of it was our annual permit fee. And that was a fee that last year had gone up considerably, but would roughly be about $2,000, just an annual general permit fee. But the rest of it was that rain gauge program that we agreed to participate in, and every community likewise has the same thing. They kind of factored how much you're.
That's when we had the engineer guy from Shelburne, maybe? The French name guy?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, Andre.
Right. Andre.
He did talk about it, but this was part of the state contract it was engaged.
So it's not part of the projects that we will have ongoing?
It's not part of a project we're doing, but it's part of our MS4 permit. It's part of our stormwater management plan.
Okay. And I see the other big one in this money was $35,400 to the city, not city police, St. Albans police. And that was for that crime unit. 2 weeks ago, we okayed to take it out of the general fund.
Right.
Correct.
So Bill, I think I'm satisfied with everything here, so if you guys are.
What's the total number?
What's that? Total amount was $113,397.57.
Any questions by anybody? Okay, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Brendan?
Oh, I've got all kinds of fun warrants tonight. We get to buy some lawnmowers, and we get to pay our employees. So, on town meeting day of this year, we asked for 2 new mowers for the Parks Department, and that was approved. And
That was during budget season. It wasn't actually.
okay, so we just approved taking it. Yeah,
Right.
Gotcha. So, we purchased 2 zero-turns.
A tractor and a zero.
Tractor and a zero-turn, right. And they came from Essex Equipment, who had the low bid. And we paid for them out of 2 different accounts. We paid for one mower from impact fees, and then we paid for another out of capital equipment reserve money. So I have an impact fee warrant for the total of $12,490. And I'll make a motion we approve that.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And then the other from the capital equipment reserve account, I have another warrant for $8,350. I'll make a motion, we approve that.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And then I have the industrial park account warrant. We have, road lights, sign lights, and then the most expensive part of this warrant is $972.39 to Green Mountain Power for the power for the sewage pump in the industrial park. So the total balance of the industrial park warrant dated May 21st, 2018 is $1,031.70. I'll make a motion, we approve that.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Before we move on, looking at this MS4, I think are we expecting an update from Ned as to the priority of projects that we're having? So I'd like to see in the near future a list of the projects, the timing and the estimated costs, so that we're up to date on things.
Yes.
Okay.
You did ask for that, I think, at
Yeah.
the last meeting.
Yeah,
All set?
yes, thank you, unless
Okay.
you have more warrants.
I do.
Okay.
So I have some payroll
Payroll,
warrants.
okay.
I'm gonna pay our fantastic employees. So I have two warrants. The first is dated April 30th to May 6th, 2018, and it's in the total of $16,587.23. And the second are the date ranges of May 7th to May 13th, 2018, and that's in the total of $16,153.63. And I'll make a motion that we approve both.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, would you like to do the minutes?
Oh, yes, happy to. I- Move that we accept the minutes of Monday, May 7th, 2018, as written.
Okay. Anybody have a comment? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move into the town manager's report. And the first item on the agenda there is the annual paving bid.
So we did that a little bit differently this
Yep.
year, hoping to facilitate the meeting. You have in front of you, Alan opened it with Jen present, you have a summary of the sealed bids. The results look like this. It's on your, right here on your desk. I thought it was, no? Or do I have the copies?
I have.
They're all
You
here.
have all the copies? No, you don't.
I have one right here.
No,
Yeah.
everyone should have.
Everyone has to send the
Okay,
whole
yeah, I
set,
thought
yeah.
everyone had them on the desk.
I don't have one.
So do you want me to announce them or just? Alan
Well,
want-
I'll just make a comment.
Okay.
Alan mentioned that in the past, it was always very difficult for us opening bids to try to put them all together with the mileage, what are we looking at, the tonnage, and cost per ton, and so on. So in order to facilitate it for us, he suggested that he open the bids, and I said, that's great. And just have somebody witness it, so we don't have any challenges of collusion or anything like that. So, Jen witnesses?
Jen was
Okay,
the
thank you.
witness, yes.
So we blame the two of you if there's a problem. Okay, having said that,
You want me to announce them, or?
yeah, why don't you read, we can list them down.
If you could.
Yep.
Come up there and just read through it. And maybe, while you're,
Tell us how many miles we're doing and so on.
yeah, you could just share the prices and then go over the roads that we're planning to, including the possible grant.
Went a little shyer on the roads this year than we normally have, but we also put in a bid for shoulder work. The town is not set up to do shoulder work. We've tried it in the past. It's too time consuming. We don't have the equipment to do it. That's why we put it out to bid, went with a little less mileage. The one thing I did run into this year, and you bidders in the crowd will understand, is we have a couple railroad tracks. I did not realize that you needed a special insurance tie into the tracks. I had talked to the railroad. They approved to do the flaggers and whatnot. I hadn't got word back about the whole insurance part of it. But as I told a couple of you on the phone, we're going by the price per ton in the shoulder work, and I wasn't gonna worry about the insurance as far as the bidding goes, so these prices are not worrying about insurance, this is just pricing per ton. So, after opening the bids, we had Jay Hutchins that came in at $67 a ton for 5,979 tons for a total of 400,593. Gravel shoulder work being at 19,200, so for a grand total of 419,793. Pike Industries came in at $684 a ton.
60/84.
6084. What did I
You said
say?
6. I'd like
Oh.
to get it for 6, but
Sorry about
you
that.
probably
That would have
won't.
been a heck of a deal.
I do not think so.
What was the number? 6084. They came in at 6,007 tons at a total of 365,465.88. Gravel shoulders 14,350 for a grand total of 379,815.88 cents. We have SD Ireland's that came in at $61.90 a ton for 5,900 tons, 365,519.50 cents for paving. Gravel shoulders at 19,572.75 cents for a grand total of $385,092.25 cents. And then ST paving came in at $64.85 a ton, 5,900 tons, $383,068.95 for paving. Gravel shoulders were $37,234.56 cents for a grand total of $420,303.51 cents.
Is this the first time that ST paving is bidding?
No, they
No.
bid last year. I don't know if in years previous, but last year they did. So going over the numbers and that, the bid is going to be awarded to Pike Industries.
So your proposal is Pike Industries at $379, $815.88.
Correct.
So I say that, I'll make a motion then that we accept your recommendation to go with Pike again this year. Any comment, any questions?
And include the shoulder work.
And include the
And including the shoulder work too, of course, yes. Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Alan, you were gonna talk about, what roads we were gonna do?
Oh, sorry. The industrial park, which includes Benoit Drive.
Where's Benoit Drive?
Benoit Drive, it's funny, I don't know why it had its separate name, but it's the branch off the circle in the industrial park that goes to Ben and Jerry's.
Okay.
So it's, I would consider all of that industrial park,
It goes
but,
over to the gate?
yep.
Okay.
Yep, so the whole circle and coming off of Route 7 out to Nason Street and down to the dead end. It's quite a bit of mileage in there. That was supposed to have been done last year and we postponed it just for the simple reason with all the construction and the big equipment going in and out. And that traffic has slowed down this year, so that's why we're doing it. Bronson Road is part of what I got the grant for. All the culverts on Bronson Road are going to be replaced, so Bronson Road's getting done. So the ditch work and that'll be all upgraded.
How much did you get for grant?
34,000.
Good, thank you. Good job.
Nason Street, couple of the culverts come across in that intersection near Bronson and Nason, so we're going to clean up Nason while we're in the area. And then on Jewett Road, when the railroad fixed their crossings a couple years ago, it was never really installed back correct for vehicles or plows, so we're going to shim that out both sides so you don't get airborne when you drive over it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's quite a hump
And
in
the
the road
plows
there,
don't
right?
punch it.
Yeah,
If I may-
it's such a sharp angle that when our plow truck actually goes up, the weight of the truck is back and the plow wants to drop, so you're constantly catching that rail, and I don't want to bend
Yeah.
a frame on a truck either, so.
Yeah, and you don't want to derail a train either.
That's been a thorn in our side, Carrie. We've had a previous select
A
board
lot, yeah.
member complain about it constantly, so I'm glad.
Keeps the traffic slow, though.
Speed bump.
And did you want to briefly talk about the grant, or wait till it comes in?
Well, I got a call from the state today, so there, possibly we will be doing Brigham Road also. The state did call me today. It looks good that we might get the paving grant this year, but I don't wanna go out on the limb until I actually see it.
Are we start to finish on Brigham?
Yes.
Yes.
I can think of one person in particular that would probably be very happy about that.
So we were overspent in paving last year, but the previous year, we got a late grant from the state of Vermont.
We did.
And that's,
We're gonna use those funds to make up the deficit for this.
Because
Fiscal year.
Right. This
Is there
one,
any money left from that? If,
there's a tiny little bit left in there to get us through till July. And then in July, the new budget starts, which will cover this. If we're fortunate enough to get that grant, it'll be the same scenario. We'd probably go over, but that money, once your job is done and we send the receipts, the state says it's usually 5 or 6 weeks and you have the money back. It just doesn't show on your budget line, it's in the
right,
account.
but we should be able to spend the money and get the revenue in the same fiscal year. That would be
Exactly.
different from that previous project.
Right.
It was
Just,
just-
at worst, it's a timing industry from
Correct.
from one year to the next.
Yeah,
And that, I don't know how many miles it is, but that's, our share is probably 20 to 30,000-ish.
yeah. It's, had a little controversy. I'm dealing with the state right now. Our road map says it's 1.55 miles on Brigham. When I clock it, it's actually 1.8. So I drew it out on the grant form, and I got with Jim Coda at V-Trans, and he's gonna have their people look at it, because there might have been a problem when they did the map. Could have been they eliminated from Pearl Street to Lake Street.
oh, yeah.
So they themselves, since I brought it to their attention, they're gonna look at it, and if so, that will get rectified on our town map, and they'll reflect revenue that comes in through the state.
So what do we have in the town map survey that we put the certificate of mileage? 1.5 or 1.8?
It's 1.55,
Okay.
and that's why I'm saying if, once they check it out and they realize that it is 1.8, that's a benefit to the town, because they'll have to change our road map, and that's for road mileage.
Okay.
Any questions?
Not for
Thank
me.
you for getting the
Anybody
grant.
else?
You're welcome.
Good. Thanks very much. Okay. Boy Scouts, next.
Yeah, so, I gave you guys a little bit of notes, but the refund policy requires select board approval. The, women organizing the Boy Scout group wanted to rent the pavilion or the covered, park area, but found out it was Bay Day and didn't think that was a good idea to bring her group down there, so I'd recommend approving her request for a refund.
I'll make,
$100.
so are we refund, yeah, okay, so I'll make a motion to, issue a refund of $100 to the Boy Scouts of America.
Any discussion, any comment on that? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Would you be receptive to changing that in the policy so that I can approve that? I don't, something like that.
I think we need some reasonable, something flexible.
She's asking for it.
Right, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
she had to bring us some policy and do it, yes.
I mean, I
Tell
just
us
wanted
what,
to know if you.
tell us how you want it to read.
I just thought it might be easier for that person that's coming in, and we're at most talking about $100 here. But sometimes it's 200, it's not a.
Well, didn't we go through that last year in a similar situation, kind of?
We did,
Different
but I'm
terms.
just thinking if we keep having,
Yeah.
occasionally it happens, and,
We go through it every year.
So
I know.
Yeah, I don't mind.
we have it in writing
Yeah, we got a secretary.
that allows you to,
No, we have a policy right now that,
and I think what I hear is the select board saying, go ahead and write.
Okay, what I'm saying, let's see what it says.
Sure. yep, just wanted to check that.
Fair enough.
So the
Okay.
next item, it's infrastructure committee. We've been meeting regularly, about once a month. Our last meeting, just a couple weeks ago, and we are planning to present the recommendation of that subcommittee on June 4th, Monday. That's a regular select board meeting. We're gonna have at least most of our committee present. And I'll tell you what we've done since last June when appointed. I don't know if Al wants to add to that.
No, we'll have all the members there, and we'll be able to answer any questions that the public may have regarding it. And I think what the public will learn is the extensiveness that we went through to cover all the properties that we knew were available in the town, and then how we went about it, reviewing them, and then finally settling down to the recommendation.
Fair enough.
Now, the focus of that presentation, is that going to be the DPW project?
It's gonna be a review of all the work the committee's
Right.
done, but it'll be DPW and town hall. I'm thinking equally, because there's been a lot of work for both of them, but they're at different stages.
Yeah, because our intention is to put the DPW on the ballot for November, so
It
that's,
is, yep.
that's gonna be and that's the number one priority that we've all
It
come
is.
up with.
Yep. And the second priority was town hall.
Understand
so,
that, yes,
yeah,
yep.
both. Any questions?
I have a whole bunch of questions, but I'll save them for the committee because we've been doing, this been going on since June of 2017. And I've seen only one article in the newspaper, and if we really want to get the public involved, we should have been feeding information as we went. My belief, I'm not here to criticize anybody, but after looking at it, I'm thinking, wow, we probably could have done something to keep the people, like the city does. That they really notify everything in way in advance, and we're kind of lax doing that. And
Well, all the meetings have been published as being about when we have them, and they've all been open meetings. So it's up to the press to cover them. I don't
I
know if they
understand that, but the press don't know that you're having them.
I'm sure they read everything else that we do on the website.
Well, and I think it's in our monthly, meeting announcement
Yeah.
schedule. So we send that to the newspaper, actually asking them to cover them.
I just found them about 3 weeks ago. Jen put the whole list together on the system. Until then, I couldn't find them. There was no information there. And we did on April 12th meeting here, we decided the priority is going to be the DPW. And I would like to ensure that that's the only thing on the ballot, getting that DPW at Brigham Road. And we've done all the groundwork. Everything's ready, so we just gotta get some costs, what it's gonna cost us. And we should be doing that as ASAP, so that the people can talk about it, ask questions about it. Because that's, how many meetings away? We do 2 meetings a month, and we're gonna go into the 6th month. That 10 meetings away, guys.
Yeah, but
10 meetings away.
I think we were also thinking, of also having some public meetings, independent of our select board meetings, to brief the public on what we want.
I don't care how you do it, we gotta do it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with
We
you.
can't wait till November 1st and have them go and vote.
Right.
Well, we did actually, to that point, in the select board's April meeting, at the last meeting, we talked about a schedule with the deadline being the November ballot, and we're ready and prepared to have some public meetings this summer.
when we have the public meetings though, we need to get some costs so we can talk.
We have been doing that, and we will explain that, actually. I mean,
I haven't seen anything.
no, of course you haven't. That's why we're going to be
But
presenting those things at our next.
we have a deadline for September, I believe, to get it on the ballot, to have, for the article.
Yep,
So that's not that far.
No, it's close at hand, that's why I think we have to press for this thing. Don't dawdle on this presentation.
So, and, yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
we'll talk about how we're paying for it and everything.
Yes, yeah, at this stage, we're just looking at the project, we're gonna wanna look at the project itself, what do we talk about in terms of, square footage, garage, salt shed, the land required, where it's positioned on the land, and all of that. And as close as we can with the costs, with the view,
Right.
then of saying, if we find the pricing acceptable or agreeable, then we'll have to figure out how to pay for it, and that will be an essential element of the article,
Yes,
so.
but September's coming fast, Bill.
That's right, that's it.
so the next
Okay,
item is Encore Renewable. Jesse is here, is that correct?
okay, why don't you take a seat and introduce yourself?
Okay, sure. Just gonna pass these out to you guys real quick.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name's Jesse Stowell. I'm with a Burlington-based solar developer called Encore Renewable Energy. I'm here tonight to request the select board to sign on to a letter which I believe you have in your information packet requesting designation of a 500 kilowatt solar project that we're working on here in town as a preferred site so that it can qualify for the for net metering under the Public Utility Commission definition of net metering. So I sent that letter, and then I have this a few pages about the project and about Encore. Figured I could go through that and then answer any questions. Does that sound like a good idea?
Actually, what is a preferred designated site?
Sure. So
Me.
so the net metering rules that were as of effective January 1st, 2017 have a number of criteria, a number of ways in which a net metering site can be qualified as a preferred site. It has to be a preferred site in order to do net metering now. And I think there's 9 criteria, including landfills, brownfields, rooftops, and then one of the criteria is support from the select board and their regional planning commission. It's essentially, I mean, another way to look at it is it's essentially a way that the local town and regional planning commission can have more say in where solar is or isn't in their town.
Can I intervene?
Sure.
Bill,
Pardon me?
can I have the floor for a minute?
Sure.
This is the second application that I'm aware of in the northwest part of the state. The first, the Regional Planning Commission Project Review Committee had an application from Fairfield. And so that's the first in this region. This will be the second. The Project Review Committee reviewed their proposal and didn't agree with the original letter that the Select Board had approved. And so they had some comments which will now go back to the Fairfield Select Board, and they'll work to try to find a common language before it goes to the Regional Planning Commission. So what we're doing is we're breaking new ground, and I'll stop there and let you go forward.
Sure, and I did speak with Taylor Newton at the RPC, and he mentioned that they wanted to make sure that they weren't kind of, I guess, signing off or providing kind of carte blanche, but instead they were saying it could be designated preferred, but that's basically just to begin the process of the Certificate of Public Good petition, in which the Regional Planning Commission can still be an intervening party and weigh in on the project. But essentially, without this designation as preferred, we can't move our project into that process.
I believe you also need our municipal planning commission approval.
That's correct. Planning Commission and Select Board.
Be there tomorrow night?
Actually, my colleague can be here tomorrow night. I don't know if we're on the agenda, probably not, but I know you guys are, the Planning Commission's meeting there, right?
Yeah, we meet tomorrow night.
Meet tomorrow night. We'd be happy to come back, yep.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
I still don't understand why,
Yeah.
again, we should consider this preferred, but yeah, I just.
Sure, yeah, let me describe that a little bit. If you go to, if you go to page 3, you can see the conceptual design. It's the same one that's on your letter. We're looking at this large parcel on the far eastern side. It's where the little rows are. That's the solar panel. I apologize for the small font. I can't really read it.
And this
but
is just off Newton, is it?
it's actually, the left side is McQuam Shore,
Yes.
and the right side is actually a farm road.
That runs from Perry Road almost.
Uh-huh.
Which road do you think it is?
Jesse, before you go any further,
That's
is
where-
the address correct here for 798 McQuam Shore?
That's the correct address for the far left side of this parcel.
798 is, there's 3 parcels of 798, right? There's a small house with .46, there's another lot with .46, then there's a farm across the road, still at 798, the last I looked, and that has 79 acres by the old Oliver Vienna farm. Is this where this is going?
Maybe we have our address wrong?
I don't know.
I couldn't find it either, so.
This is the
Oh,
old, the
I
end,
know.
the
798 is
the end farm?
You're
Lake
using-
Shore.
You're using
Olive
the
Viennes?
road that the Vermont
Is
can-
the end-
that
the old
Impact
Olive
Fee
Viennes
Yeah,
farm?
Oliver
So,
Vienna's farm.
Okay.
From lower, it comes off of Lower Newton and then heads in the direction of Perry Road, almost parallel to McQuam, and that's what they were using for their, I think they worked with Green Mountain Power to install poles to their,
Yep.
what was that, a digester?
Oh,
Yep. I can point it out I can point the parcel out on the zoning map if that's helpful. I don't know.
Sure.
I apologize for the confusion there. I mean,
And these
I
are all-
wrote down just to see where it would be, and I couldn't.
You're gonna have to go to Hunter.
Okay.
Probably.
it's basically right where McQuam Shore reaches the shore. If you follow it all the way up,
Right here.
Yeah.
no, so it keeps following right.
Higher.
Yeah, higher, right there. Just a little, right there. 2 parcels up from there, right
This
there.
whole long one
Yep,
here.
that's it.
Did Joe Montana own that farm at one time?
No, David did.
David, well, I mean.
It's owned by
Yeah.
Mike and Michelle Brusso now.
That's the one with the Quonset barn?
I don't think there's a barn. What?
There's a farm in
There was a house and barn near the road.
It's
Yeah.
where we had to
Right,
cut the
it's
tree
that's not on
down.
the same parcel,
It's
but
right by the only area of McQuam
Remember the
has
tree that
guardrails.
we had to cut?
it does have
I
guardrails.
think this is the only area of McQuam in that general vicinity that has guardrails on the lake shore side.
I know exactly where it is.
You're across the street from that, far back in the field across a few wetlands.
Right, the blue area is the delineated wetlands and the buffers.
I
So
think
those blue areas are wetlands, not lakes.
Oh, yeah, class 2 wetlands that we delineated, or our subcontractor delineated last fall.
And then they're gonna use, I would think, the transportation for the actual panel install will probably be that road that was approved as part of they have a digester, I think it's now Nelson Boys Dairy Farm, or Nelson Brothers.
Yeah,
something like that. And that road was constructed to install three-phase power to get to there, and that was constructed by David and Kathy
So that's-
about
okay.
12, 13 years ago.
What road?
So, right after Perry Road, same side of the road, you keep headed down that road, and then there's, you keep headed towards Lower Newton, down towards McQuam, and then on the left, you get that run of power lines that went straight from Lower Newton all the way to David and Kathy's farm on Montang Road. So there's a road it's dirt, it's,
It's not a named road, it's just.
Not a road.
it's not a named road, but, it's good enough in the summer to be used as a.
Yeah.
yeah, we haven't
transportation.
approached them yet, but that would be that's the easiest way. The other way is, along the southern, it's a driveway style kind of access road that would be along the southern side of this.
Is that to be installed, or is it already in?
Oh, that would, well, there's sort of a farm road there, but it mainly have to be installed. I mean, our preferred way would be this,
So I would be shocked if you would even technically have to approach that landowner, because Green Mountain Power should have a pretty good size right of way through there for their own utilities.
unfortunately, their right of way doesn't help us too
There
much.
doesn't, knocking there, you can't get permission to use their right of, I mean, at the end of the day, who needs that road? It was for maintenance of those poles.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's just we don't have a right of way.
You don't have it, but
Yeah.
I mean, you're partnered with GMP to sell that power at the moment, or have you approached them?
We definitely have approached GMP. We're not currently partnered.
See, that's my next question. Do you have a guaranteed offtake for the power?
We do. I mean, guaranteed, in that we haven't contracted for it, I guess, yet. But it's that's why we're going for this net metering site.
Okay. Net means somebody else is gonna use it.
Net metering is when customers like schools, towns who have electric bills, other commercial customers, they can purchase the net metering credits at a discount and save money on their electricity costs. Green Mountain Power takes the energy and issues net metering credits on whoever's bills we contract with for the net metering credits.
So they could, if we designate this a prime location, or preferred location, you get a net metering designation that allows you to partner with essentially anybody, contract with them, and sell that power at a lesser rate than what they would be paying GMP off the street.
Yeah, I mean, love to work with the town on that for your electricity bills too. I mean, as a side piece of this whole thing.
Discussing electricity bills too, so. And you're talking, what was it, 500?
It's a 500 kilowatt project. It's about 3 acres, and it could generate on the order of $150,000 per year of net metering credits, something like that. So you don't have to take all of them, but we'd work to find off-takers for those net metering credits. They wouldn't have to put any money up front. It would just be savings from year one for whoever we're up to.
You have to have those contracts prior to seeking the Public Service Board approval?
We do not. We would just need them prior. I mean, there's nothing stopping us from building it, but we wouldn't go into construction without those contracts in place, because wouldn't make sense to spend the money on the construction without them.
And is your intent to sell all within Franklin County?
We'd be happy to. Our intent is we have to sell it within Green Mountain Power service territory. And yeah, I mean, we love working with local off-takers because it just creates a win-win solution for everybody involved.
And Green Mountain Power, to your knowledge, will approve this?
That's the beauty of the net metering rule, is that the utilities, have to approve it.
This was half looked at as a local control measure, wasn't it? You're giving a lot of power to your RPC and your
Right.
townships to.
Exactly.
I mean,
There's an engineering problem that I learned at the RPC. And that is, at this point, Franklin County produces more electricity than it needs to, that it can use itself. And putting it into the power grid, which the Velco lines, is also at a point that it can't absorb anymore. So, to me, this is a very difficult engineering problem, maybe less of a problem for the town to decide, but there are significant engineering problems. And it gets back to
To me,
what we need to do as a county vis-à-vis the whole state. We're right now ahead of everybody else in reading this 2050 goal.
Which is actually 200 megawatts of solar according to the or RPC's energy plan, so that's a lot of solar
Yeah.
in the net energy plan.
Looking at this
so if we are,
project,
if we're oversupplying, you know, what's the point of investing in anything new? You just
the net
adding to
metering
the,
credits are.
well, it's still,
that's how you sell it.
oversupply.
I mean,
Well, it's really not
it
that
feeds
simple.
back into GMP's other,
Well,
their other grid.
You know,
There's an interconnection process, which, we'd work with Green Mountain Power, and Green Mountain Power continues to build solar. We actually, work with them on other projects. There's a whole, as far as the technical interconnection, that's all handled in the interconnection process, which we would work with Green Mountain Power on. This is adjacent to existing three-phase, which is one of the, ways that it's compatible with the regional energy plan. It's also minimal visual impact, if any. It's essentially invisible from public roads. And it is shown as a base solar site on the regional energy plan.
I mean, if we're looking at just this project, I totally agree, and I'm glad you brought that up about the engineering problem with selling,
It's
the
not our
grid and
problem.
selling it. It's not our problem though. I mean,
Right.
this,
But I would suggest,
he wouldn't be here looking for us to designate this site unless it was in his company and their subcontractor's professional opinion that they would be able to sell this power. And I'm sure that they've consulted GMP about that. I just don't want to turn, this 3-acre project into a larger discussion that we could probably have with regional.
right, but I would like to suggest to the select board that we let the planning commission weigh in first and have their benefit of their
We
knowledge.
normally do, Al. It's always been standard in the past.
so I would suggest we defer action.
To planning, and then
Well, then it goes back, and we'll decide.
right then you'll get the that makes
And I'm
sense.
still, I philosophically, if we're just adding more and more power than we need, it doesn't make sense to me philosophically.
Yeah, it's really not the case. Even the planning map from Green Mountain Power shows us the red, yellow, and green circuits. This is a green circuit. It's, the problem, I guess you call it a problem, that you're describing, the Sheffield Highgate export interface, is really an economic issue that the utilities are struggling with because they've got more generation, including an 80 megawatt wind farm that Green Mountain Power built, owns, and operates. And that wind farm, essentially, when that's operating at times of low load and high solar generation, then they have a transmission constraint.
And you have several dams.
I believe.
And what happens is the power prices get so low that Green Mountain Power has to curtail their wind farm, and it's not good for their economics. So that's essentially the problem.
Cheap power is not good for them.
Not in that exact place at that exact time.
So, often you look at, it might be cheaper to buy for the national grid than to generate locally, but that's another issue altogether. Didn't we have one farm on Dunsmore Road that was looking to put in a biomass system, and they stopped it because they couldn't sell the power?
I think that was an interconnection cost
Well,
issue, I
it was just
believe.
that they couldn't get rid of the power, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one problem. The other big problem that we faced was three-phase power.
And one of the farms back
Putting the
out.
lines in.
Right.
We were gonna allow the
Pardon me?
town right away, and we got into a squabble with a lot of the landowners. And you're right in the same area.
No, we're actually we're 10 feet from the three-phase power
Yeah,
that exists,
this-
which
this-
is the beautiful thing about this site. It's right there.
They're 3-phase.
The one that goes from field to field? Yeah.
Down by Bourbeau's farm.
It runs
In
all the
one of
way
those
from Lower
farms back
Newton
out.
to.
We're gonna put some sort of a conduit to pump the,
I think they got to be okay with the power lines, but
yeah, but one of the
GMP
farms
wouldn't
back
take,
out.
yeah, part of it was GMP wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so,
Yes.
anyway,
Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time. Sounds like we need to go to tomorrow's night's meeting then, if we can get on the agenda, which is probably a little late.
It is,
Okay.
it was warned last week, so we
Okay.
should probably call Ned Connell tomorrow
Okay.
and discuss how we'll proceed.
Yeah, when,
All right.
once you start things like special town designation, that sends up not a red flag, a yellow flag to me.
But the
Understood.
planning
I
commission
just don't
is twice a
understand
month,
it.
So,
Yeah, so one of the reasons that we're sort of in a rush, I guess, is that we're hoping to get this project in before July 1st to the Public Utilities Commission because they're changing the rates for net metering. So that's one of the things that's driving our timeline. Obviously not your problem, but we'll try to get on the Planning Commission agenda as soon as we can.
Right. I don't think you'll run into any type of a problem there.
And then we are on with Taylor at the RPC in mid-June. I think they have their project review meeting. I think this 13th maybe.
I would think that by our second June meeting, we'd have a recommendation one way or another from the planning commission to talk about.
Let's wait and see.
Can I say that when you get to that, when you have this meeting on this, you need to look at the letter that was proposed and make the changes that you think are important so that the select board can consider those changes, because they eventually have to go to the RPC for a joint letter. And so the RPC, I know, will have some changes again that has to come back to the select board for a final approval.
Yeah. And I probably could get Taylor's feedback on that letter ahead of any meeting, I would guess. So maybe we'll adjust that letter. It was just meant to be a straw man to show you what we're going for. So
Yeah.
again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Good luck tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
next one hopefully should be very quick. We have a request for water, municipal water. You have in front of you the application. And should be the draft letter we usually send with it.
That's just notification, right?
Excuse me?
We need,
We have to endorse it.
Yep. It's the policy they're following, so they're asking for water allocation, 150 gallons per day, no sewer at this point. And they provided the requested forms for applying to the city, so I guess I'm looking for a recommendation to approve this request.
So moved.
Okay, now, they have a water line on that side of the road, do you know?
Yeah, it comes out of the lake right there. Just
It's
a little
it's on
way.
the other, you hook it in on the other side.
Yeah, you just north of Bissonnette.
We're right across from Conan Clark.
Yeah. But Archie Bissonnette is your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
yes, this was Kenyon's lot they had for
Yeah.
sale.
Okay, so who made the motion?
I did.
Okay. Any other question or comment?
No.
All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Oh, I do have one question. So this
Too late.
is this coming from the lake?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it can't be from the lake, it's.
No, I know, it's the water line that
City water
is owned by, well, it's not owned by the city. That water line is owned by, is that,
It's city. It's still city.
well, it's city water, but the line itself is owned by, I think Dan Handy owns at least a share of it.
I have no idea.
I don't know, I mean, I know that some local, privately owned water
That
lines.
was a water line that came on from the other side, not across the street.
Okay,
Because they had to have, the water line was coming from, what was the neighbors next to it?
Archie.
Archie,
Yeah.
yes, it was coming from that direction.
okay.
It was the private water line. That I
Gotcha.
do know.
Yeah.
There's,
So the
you're
one
on
that's
the,
across the way is city water,
gotcha,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gotcha. That makes sense, okay.
I've been researching it.
I mean, it's just sometimes you run into privately owned water lines that
Right.
have dual
Yeah.
hookup fees,
Right,
so that's good. Nice.
You're all set then.
we're good?
Okay,
Right,
thank
We'll
you.
have the
Well,
letter ready tomorrow.
We just recommend it to the city, then it's,
Yeah. from here.
Thank you for
I'll sit
coming.
here.
Thank you.
good night.
The next item is the personnel policy draft. These ones, yep.
Were there just two changes that have been incorporated, 2 or 3?
There are, I think 3 actually, but on the numbered pages on the policy itself, number
Right.
5. But Al was suggesting another change on,
On the
and so one of the
military
other,
payroll, yeah.
one of the other corrections was the removal of probation from page 11, because we don't use that term anymore. We did add language for the last discussion about military pay.
Yes.
On page 13. And at your desk should be the proposal that Al wanted to talk about adding to the harassment section.
Pardon me?
It should be on your desk, it was left there this afternoon in that packet of.
It has the changes in blue under section 26. So everything that is in the policy now, as I understand it, would stay, but this is in addition to, and possibly even changing the name of that section, it shouldn't be called just that. So it's a change to page 14. as we see.
God.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to add anything, Al? Or do you guys
Well, I'm
have-
just waiting for Bill to finish.
You know, to me, it's too broad, but that's just my opinion.
It's another one of those where we're making a law that we have no enforcement, right?
And you look cross-eyed at somebody can be considered
Right.
harassment. That's-
You need to film everybody you talk to, so they say, well, you harassed
Yeah.
me.
I mean, for,
You guys do what you want, I've had enough of that. We just keep getting thicker and thicker and thicker. and people say to me, well, you don't like to be regimented in laws. I love it when you got a hammer to hit them with when they do something wrong, if they're guilty.
You have a hammer in the whole policy, gives
You
you the
don't
select
have
board.
nothing now.
Select
I
board,
could be accused of talking with somebody if I raised my voice because I didn't think they were doing their job.
You know, you could be considered harassing by raising your voice to interfering with somebody's ability to do his or her work.
true.
That's insane.
Pardon?
That's insane.
No, it's not. It's
well,
an
I
office
think it is.
environment. Well, if you do, that's fine.
That's why I won't
But
support
I
it.
disagree with you because we have situations,
Okay.
not only in the town office, but in other places, where you
Wow.
do have employees fighting with one another. You have people coming in that may have some form of authority that do create an uncomfortable position for the person who is the object of the criticism, and also those people who have to listen to it. We have to have a professional office, and that's all I'm asking for. This separates it out from sexual harassment.
Yeah, I think you're going too far, that's my
I think
opinion.
it's way too far. I know a department here, they blow up every once in a while. And they threaten to quit, they're all done, and they hate the person in charge, and the next week they're hugging each other, so. I'm not signing something that somebody brings forward and,
I don't get the, honestly, I don't get the, I see that there's a little bit of, it's a little broad, but, you know, the unacceptable behavior considered to be harassment. A, workplace harassment is unwelcome conduct from a boss, coworker, group of coworkers, vendor, or customer whose actions, communication, or behavior mocks, demeans, puts down, disparages, or ridicules an employee. Find me a problem with that sentence.
I just don't like the whole thing. You can say what you like, Brenda. You
Find
can-
me
you
a
can-
problem, you've got it.
If you
We're
like
not
it,
here to
vote in
argue.
favor of it. Okay,
I
do
don't
you have a
wanna
motion?
Yes, I move that we approve Section 28 as amended, 26 as amended,
To add that new section,
correct? A, Section A.
okay? Any,
I have a, can we,
make a further comment?
I would like to, I suggest we table this until Bruce is here.
No, we have an amendment, and a motion. I would like to vote on it. All those in-
Can I motion to table?
Yep.
Motion to table until our next meeting when we have a full board?
Who wants to table it?
I do.
I do.
Okay, I don't.
I don't.
Okay, so it's not tabled. Now the motion goes forward.
So I moved it. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
2. Opposed?
Aye.
2. Okay, so motion fails. And I would suggest, Al, in the future, if you're gonna have such broad sweeping motions, making well in advance, so we have time to study them and so on.
I'll bring it back up when the attorney's here for our education.
Pardon me?
I will bring this back up when we have our in-service training with the attorney.
Go ahead, that's a good idea.
So that motion was for the amendment, what
Correct.
about the whole policy?
Well, now the question is,
Yes.
to get a motion to approve the policy as amended without this. I would move that we approve personnel policy and conflict of interest policy as amended. Any discussion on that? Anybody in favor? All those
I'm
in
not
favor?
opposed to where we are at.
Right. I think where we're at is better than where we were. I think we could go.
So is that a yes or a no?
Yes, it's a yes.
Yes.
I'm like to abstain because I don't agree with it, but I don't wanna hold it up neither.
That's
so.
all right, so all in favor, I'll say yes, so that's three
Okay.
yes and 1 abstention. And do you want to have everybody sign it, or do you want to just authorize me to sign it?
Can't sign that one, that's the one that's got the,
Yeah, I realize that, we can always,
I don't think it matters actually, so.
once it's approved by the board, I don't think
Right,
it
I don't
matters.
think it matters at that point.
Yep.
We put the approval date. All right,
What's an EPI committee?
I'm not sure exactly what the acronym stands for, but I
Epi
know,
usually means to grow upon, you know,
I
when
think
you,
it said-
epitaxy, you
think I
grow
might have-
upon something.
misquoted them, I think it was the Epicenter Committee. I don't know. It's Hardek Steering Committee, looking at long-term strategic planning for the community, and they would like to have another St. Albans town representative on that board.
Bruce?
Do you want a representative or a select person?
They would like a select person, actually, yeah, and Bruce is sitting on that committee, and would like another select board person, if that isn't, we're hoping for that anyway at this point.
Bruce called me up last night, asked me if I would be willing to sit on it, and I said yes.
It's simple, then you're the guy.
That's it.
Is it a tight race?
Perfect. I'm not gonna fight you now.
Have any other volunteers? Okay, all those in favor of Val being our, sitting at the epicenter of the heart attack? Indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. What do you, how many nights do you have free
Thank
this
you, Al.
each week?
Look, it keeps me out of trouble, Bill.
Right, no, it doesn't, you
Does it?
keep
I
writing
don't
this damn
think so.
stuff, brings it in trouble.
Clearly not.
Yeah, but if you notice the timeline I send it, it's usually late at
I
night.
saw, it's after midnight, yeah,
Yeah.
12:54 or something? Not this one, the other one you sent me, right?
Yeah. So the next item is the St. Albans Health Path or Rec Path. Ned and Jeff Moreau from NMC helped us work on this path. It was a grant for this path. It was a Northern Borders grant that was due a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure how competitive it is, but we're hopeful that we're doing well. Jeff was a really big help. Ned worked pretty hard on this. This is the path. Most people have heard us talk about it, that would connect Collins Pearly area, that side of the St. Albans State Highway, to the other side of the St. Albans State Highway near the Gricebrook area. Create a potential three-way intersection and then connect it north to the city sidewalk system. And we're working on ways to get it towards Main Street from that same area, working around the school because the school, for security reasons, doesn't want a public path going through their facility when school is open. So that's the same path. So we worked on that, submitted that grant. We also submitted a grant to oh, that was a different one, sorry. I also submitted a grant to Rise Vermont for the town forest, and we did receive that recently, so that was good news, but that's a smaller grant, of course. We're very thankful to it, but it's for a different project. So there was some movement on that, and we're gonna apply for another grant next month.
So the path was from Collins Pearly down to Thorpe Avenue approximately.
That is one of the versions of the path.
What's the one we're talking about?
Yep, it is that one, yes.
So you cross the road right around Gricebrook?
Yes,
And I thought it was, originally we was gonna continue north and come out on Thorpe Avenue.
that is correct.
What's the spur to Greenwood Cemetery?
That is, we're currently seeking permission to do that from the cemetery board.
For what, or for what purpose?
To allow people to get to Main Street. A lot of kids, both from SATEC and the public, and some people from BFA come from the Main Street area.
But the school doesn't want us to go through their
Correct.
property.
Yep, and
it's
so,
for those people primarily, and they don't want us on their property.
not when the school is open. So, there's weekends, nights, summer, certainly
I'm
that's.
sure the cemetery don't want you people walking through there when they're getting ready to bury somebody. It's a very
Right.
serious moment for everybody,
It
so.
is.
Dangerous with open graves,
Well,
can be.
the road's not very wide, and to get a path through that same road, good luck.
I don't understand, with SATEC, that's just a small walk from the SATEC entrance to Main Street. They're all on their own, why do they have to go somewhere else?
The issue is, again, security because of all these school shootings.
No, their own, the comment you made was to get their own kids down to Main Street.
No, it was to get anyone who wanted to use the path from the Gricebrook Thorpe Avenue Road to Main Street. So you have that section that would have to go around the SATEC property somehow during school sessions.
What you're talking about, mainly BFA people?
BFA and
Anybody.
the public, there's a good deal of the public that uses the St. Albans,
Okay.
the Collins Pearly path right now, and it's all age groups. So
But again, the school kids have opportunities to go right from BFA, they're on Main Street, they can walk along Main Street.
Yes.
and as in SATEC, so I don't see the kids having a problem getting to the access highway.
Not to the access highway, but from the access highway up east.
Well, I understand that. They're getting to a place across the access highway, which is, to me, is a high-risk area. You've heard me say that before, so.
Or even at the intersection.
I still believe it's gonna be safer and cheaper to have traffic control measures at each end of the state access highway than trying to have people walk across that thing. That's gonna be another argument for another meeting. Yes, sir.
Well, that was-
Would you stand up and enter what's your name?
St.
Denis?
Dennis. I've been here before.
Yes, Saint Denis or Dennis?
Oui, Saint Denis. Yeah, the question is, who wants this? What's the impetus? Who's driving this?
Not necessarily the town manager, no. There was a good deal with the public that wanted this.
A good deal.
Yep.
That's a very general statement.
Well, I think we can.
Who's the good deal?
I think we
People
can-
been writing in? Is this just conversation? It's serious matters, not funny.
I'm
I think,
I think
not calling it fun.
I think there have been various surveys as to roads, walkways, bike paths, and this comes up in that.
I don't see much in the messenger about that. So I don't know how much public knowledge there is about it.
Tap the fellow in front of you, 2 seats in front of you.
Well, he's new.
Hey, but it's all right, now it's just an opportunity for something to write about, right?
But really, I mean, I've seen a lot of discussion about this over the last couple of years. You know, I follow the messenger electronically in Florida, and, you know, what you said was, there's a simpler solution to all these problems. Which, you know, I don't, why put a path over to Thorpe Avenue? What's that gonna accomplish? You know, it just seems like it's not really that necessary. I think you agree, Stan.
I just didn't agree going to a cemetery, but that's, I think we need a path.
Yeah? I don't see many people walking.
Al-
People are walking, and actually, when we did a feasibility study a couple of years ago, we had an independent person come in and analyze how and who is using these paths. And there are literally, they call them goat paths, you can call them tromp down paths. There's evidence of a good number of people, a lot of people crossing the SASH, the St. Albans State Highway, right where we're talking about. They've consistently broken the fence that's there. The homeowner has tried to, and the state have put the fence back up. The kids have.
Going where? That's the point. What's the
They're
to and from?
They're crossing the St. Albans State Highway.
Yeah. Up in the development, parents have built wooden decks getting across the
Which
ditch
development?
line. Up off of Thorpe Ave extension, that whole development with Tanglewood and such. You have a lot of high school students that use the complex every single day. There's a lot of athletic people in the town that use the complex for training and whatnot. At the end of the day,
That part I understand.
at the end of the day, the state would like to see communities connect all their sidewalks or health paths. It makes it a better community to live in. And by attaching to Thorpe Ave, it's connecting the city to the town, allowing city people to come over and use the complex, but also using the path from Main Street up allows a lot of the high school people and a lot of the students from the Tanglewood, and we're trying to give them a safe crossing, but also by going a health path instead of a sidewalk, it's more versatile for bikers, walkers, wheelchair people, stuff like that. So it's a good thing for the community.
Absolutely.
the only thing I would add to that is it's a long-range plan, both in the state and in our county, to help improve people's health. Now, I realize for older people like myself, it's sort of late, but for the younger people, to get them into a ritual of exercise and walking. And
I understand all that, that's a lot of nicey talk, but who's gonna wanna do it?
Well, I think we've already talked about how many kids are already doing it.
I can say by finishing the walking path in the Bay Park last year, that park is being utilized so much more with wheelchairs and people walking every day.
Right, they come
Right.
down here to do it though.
Exactly. It's because they don't have a way to get to the complex or whatever, you know, by foot or whatever. I mean, It's kind of like the old movie, you build a field, they'll come and play. It's the same type of thing.
That's my question, whether they will come. But anyway, that's just my comment.
Okay. You'll have an opportunity to vote on it, Mr. Anthony.
Actually, I can't.
Well, come on, move up here and register. Every vote counts, as I
A
will.
lot cheaper to live in Florida.
You don't want to help us with our tax burden?
No.
All right, so the next item is Amy Brewer, Northwestern Medical Center, here to discuss a request to consider a smoke-free Bay Park or park policy in this.
Amy, take the hot seat.
Not just
I'm gonna
one.
take the hot seat, but I want to hand something out to you first. I'm sorry I didn't get it to you ahead of time, but I'll walk you through it, and it's pretty simple.
Yeah, get my guard up right away when it's pretty simple.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, so some of you know me, others may not. My name is Amy Brewer. I'm a health educator at Northwestern Medical Center. I'm also the coordinator of the Franklin Grand Isle Tobacco Prevention Coalition, and what I do is work to create spaces in a community that protects youth from ever starting, helps people to quit, and provides an opportunity that people are protected from secondhand smoke. And for a long time, I've worked in Franklin Grand Isle for almost 12 years now, looking at ways to do that. And smoke-free parks is one of the ways that we do that. We still have high tobacco use rates in our region amongst youth and adults. And so over the past dozen years, been working with various communities to consider smoke-free park policies. Parks are great places where people gather, young people, old people, everybody in between, pets as well. But they're also a place where people litter tobacco products. And Bay Park is one of those unique spaces, kind of like Marble Mill and Swanton, which borders on an important body of water. So in my little overview, I talk a little bit, the first section, about the tobacco rates in our state and our community. We have in Franklin County about 27% of our youth are using some form of tobacco product regularly, and that's true in the supervisory union or school district now, and it's true in Franklin County. But 2 years ago, in August, we did something very disgusting, and we picked up cigarette butts for about an hour and a half in the rain in August. And in about an hour and a half, we picked up 1,252 cigarette butts. And those are not only gross for little kids who might put them in their mouths and potentially toxic, but they end up in the water, which helps pollute the water. The filters are made of a plastic material, so they trap in the toxins and then they can release them, but they don't biodegrade in any way in any short period of time. So that's kind of the background. The opportunity is, I was really excited that the farmers market is coming to the Bay Park, and the rec path that you just talked about there, and so there's a lot of focus on that space being a hub, being a space for a community, for families to be active, for everybody to be active. And with all the collaboration with Rise Vermont, it really shines a light on the health of the community and the opportunity. And so I wanted to just talk to you all about whether it was possible to create a tobacco-free space in that community, in that space.
So we read that Friday night and grappled with it all weekend, being a conservative that doesn't like big government, but at the end of the day, smoking, it's a gross habit that harms other people that are in the area. I was kind of surprised, actually. I know we've been through this parks ordinance before, but I was kind of caught me off guard that we allow people to smoke in the park already. I mean, in Bay and Cone Park, I really, especially now that we've got more elderly folks coming down and utilizing a path and trying to walk, you've got kids, and we did a green up day. Bruce and I led a couple groups, and my group was in Bay Park, and I can tell you we picked up quite a few cigarette filters, which are not fun to pick up. But I called Carrie this morning around, I don't know, 10:30, and Jen worked on it this afternoon, and I would like to amend our parks ordinance to ban use of tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, and vaporizers. And also coming down the pike that we would have to consider would be, we should ban, if it's not already banned in public, we should consider banning marijuana use in the parks also.
So I knew that would be a question. I brought a little piece on marijuana for you.
Perfect.
It's interesting, the state trying to minimize and eliminate smoking, that they vote for marijuana smoking. I find it
They didn't ask me.
somewhat hypocritical.
And I'm 100% with you, Bill, it doesn't make sense.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have extras if anybody else. Yeah.
So it is illegal.
Yeah. So the law is still fuzzy and hasn't been implemented until July 1st, and not 100% my area of expertise. But according to the community partner advocates, the coalitions that deal with marijuana and alcohol as well, usually, in the middle it says what towns need to know. It will be illegal to use marijuana in public spaces. It's kind of a privacy of your own home kind of law. And so stating it, I certainly recommend it. Just put it out there, include it, but it is already illegal. The public is confused about marijuana for sure and what this law that's going into effect means.
This legislation could be changed at some point in
And
the
the other
future
thing-
if it doesn't work.
That's true too.
The other thing I see is if we allow smoking, it'd be very hard to differentiate from a distance those who are smoking marijuana and those who are smoking regular
Yep.
cigarettes. So to that degree, I think it's easier to enforce by saying no smoking,
I agree.
period.
And for obvious reasons, we don't really want them smoking in the town forest
Right.
either.
The other question I have, and I know you're aware of it, is we allow alcohol, I'm understanding, to drink. If you mix alcohol and marijuana, my understanding is it's got a magnification effect.
That goes beyond what I can answer for
Okay.
you. But it also, I was looking at your policy, and unless there's permitting, alcohol is not, or wine and beer anyway.
In bulk quantity.
Ah, see,
So we
tricky.
didn't wanna have a big party.
No keg party, but
We
okay.
wanted to limit it to individual, I think, if someone wanted a beer, but
Okay.
right now it says they are allowed to serve. Well,
Okay.
by default, it's saying no large quantities. We didn't really specify, but that's a whole list of activities that are prohibited, and we
Yep.
just prohibit large quantities.
Well, not to be a target, I can live with that for a while, as long as we don't allow marijuana.
My other question was, I think in our animal control ordinance, not in our parks ordinance, there was a fee structure for folks that didn't pick up dog excrement to try to curb that, so we didn't have to go back to not allowing animals in our parks. My question for us to consider, and I don't think we're gonna make a decision on this tonight, is like Amy said, cigarette filters or butts, they're not, they take a long time to decompose. They're toxic for water. I really think that just for the purposes of littering, let alone the secondhand smoke problem, we should take that same fine structure and see if it would be legal to insert it in our parks ordinance. So if we catch somebody smoking or littering with tobacco or marijuana-related paraphernalia, they can be fined by the town. Just to, at least dog droppings are decomposable essentially. I mean, we might as well make a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah, I think if we had a nice big sign at the various entrances to the park and on the stone house, it would just remind people, and that most people will comply with the law.
Right, but a law with no penalty.
Law with no teeth is useless.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We should look at, maybe reread that animal control ordinance portion that had that fine structure and see if it makes sense as a copy and paste for tobacco, marijuana. If we're gonna do it, we might as well give it teeth, if we can. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Is there a littering prevention today?
So the way we usually do our meetings is the board can ask each other questions, and when they're done asking each other questions, they'll ask the public if they wanna chime in. So are you guys done with the questions with each other?
I am.
Okay.
So, to Mr. Denise, St.
Yeah.
Denis point, we don't have a littering ordinance, do we?
I thought there was something in there about it, yes. Under the prohibited acts, the first section is expectorating or littering, defecating or urinating except into a toilet.
There you go.
We're very specific.
Throwing
That's
a cigarette on the ground is littering.
Right, but it's
All right,
saying you
okay.
can't do
Okay,
that in
okay.
any of our parks. It's a
Right.
prohibited act.
I just wanna know where you got it from.
Yep.
So Brendan, there's a way.
Is there I don't see
Well,
it.
it's a prohibited act, yes. We
There are
did.
no penalties.
There are no
Right, that's
penalties.
what-
I wanna give
that's
it
what-
teeth. I wanna, if our
There you go.
parks, you know, if a member of our parks department sees somebody throw a cigarette butt on the ground, I want them to be able to, I want somebody to be able to find that person.
Well, I mean, the way we normally do it is not to do that initially. We try
Well, I mean, eventually,
to encourage cooperation first, and then if they repeatedly violate, yes, we'll do that.
I think that whatever we decided to do with, you know, dog droppings or, you know, animal feces, we should look at and see if it would apply here. And maybe look at, you know, if smoking is not the only prohibited act that we'd like that to apply to. You know, we've got it written in here that you can't shoot any projectile, paintball, or golf. So if I go down there and hit a 6-iron, nobody's gonna fine me, even though it's a prohibited act, but should be able to give me a ticket.
So I would suggest first, maybe you wanna decide if you're gonna agree on the smoking policy, and then you can discuss the fine policy. I
So,
didn't really hear.
so I'll move that we prohibit smoking, use of vapor things, and use of marijuana is prohibited in the state park, in our town parks.
Including non-smokable tobacco like snuff
Right.
and so on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Let's ask Alan, can he enforce it?
I believe I can. My parks people will address it. We addressed the dog situation, but there's that loophole with everyone saying it was a therapy dog, so we've allowed the dogs, you know, but they still, if we see a dog without a leash, we address them and ask them to put it on a leash, or they have to leave if they don't have one. So if we have a tobacco-free park, we can easily ask, this is a tobacco-free zone, please distinguish your.
What do they do at state parks? What do they allow?
State Parks has a small policy that says, I believe, no smoking is allowed in the most densely visited areas, which is a really rough definition to enforce. So generally, enforcement, what I recommend is exactly what Alan shared, is really good communication and just reminding folks. And on the backside, I also added in cessation stuff, because I don't ever want this to be confrontational or, you know, a negative thing.
Right.
I want to be able to remind folks, put up good signs, talk about it in the media.
Sadly, it will be confrontational. People like have a big event and so on.
Right.
You know,
It's really hard to say.
my opinion.
I understand, and it's really hard to say. Trust me, that's generally not how it works. But June Dairy Days, Lincoln Park is tobacco-free, and the amount of smoking during Dairy Days has decreased just enormously, which is the goal. You probably never get to zero. I'm not naive enough to
Yeah.
think that, but it decreases the exposure and the litter quite a bit.
I think you can discourage, but I don't think you can prohibit.
I'd have to agree, like a Bay Day event, that park is packed for fireworks and that, so trying to,
You have a riot on your hands.
what's that?
You could have a riot on your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta pick your battles, like Amy is saying, I mean, with a general day in the park, I think we can control it.
But, you know, but you're looking at not only the Bay Park, you're looking at Cohen Park, you're looking at the forest,
Right.
anywhere, you know.
It's,
You can't patrol everything all the time.
No, you can't. But I mean, by publicizing that it's a tobacco-free area and promoting it, maybe we can limit the amount that happens.
I mean, this to me is, I'll correlate again, it's not that much different than what we had to do with our animal control ordinance to allow dogs back in the park. Dogs are still good, you know, there's probably still feces left behind, even, you don't get every person, but, you know, it was publicized through the press, we have signage, you know, people have been better about it, and it's an allowable use so far, it's going well so far, so why not? I mean, fining and whatnot aside, I think it would be a good idea to just get it in our ordinance saying that it's prohibited. And knowing that we aren't going to eliminate it, but
There's no point prohibiting something if you can't enforce your ordinance. It's just a waste of time.
I know that Taylor Park in the city is a smoke-free zone.
as it should.
And,
But-
I mean, granted, you once in a great while you'll see someone, but Taylor Park being right out in the open like that, it's limited. I mean, when I worked in the city, I really didn't see a lot of smoking going on up there. And, you know, I've reached out to our police officers, and they're gonna do a couple walkthroughs at our parks, one in the morning, one in the afternoon at various times. So if we tell them it's a smoke-free zone, there'll be police presence, you know. I don't think we will get it to zero, but at least maybe it's a chance to cut back on the tobacco use in the parks.
To Bill's point, I understand your point. Why do it if you can't enforce it all the time? But to that respect, what's stopping somebody from, you know, going on Route 36 towards Black Bridge and speeding, and there's a cop not right there to ticket them?
That's different. It's very different. That's not, you can't make that kind of a comparison.
Well, you can't enforce every law all the time.
Oh, but
That doesn't mean that they're not.
Amy, it seems to me way back in history, somebody correlated for every cigarette you smoked, you took so many seconds or minutes off your life.
Mm-hmm.
You remember what that ratio was?
No. No, I think it's indisputable that that tobacco use leads to premature death. It adds to all the healthcare dollars that we are struggling with. It's the leading cause of heart disease and lung disease and cancers from head to toe. And I think everybody agrees with that. Added to this, you know, why we focus on parks is because there's places where everybody can gather. So protecting people from secondhand smoke, which can cause, you know, challenges for people who have challenged lung functionings, kids with asthma, older adults and younger children alike. There's that protection. And then, as I mentioned, because of the proximity to the lake, cigarette butts, they fly, they roll, and they get washed right down into the lake. So there's those, you know, kind of three reasons to focus on that. And generally speaking, what this would be about is reducing, right? Reducing the impact, reducing the exposure, and reducing the litter that heads into the lake, or that gets stuck in the playground where kids are playing, and that happens too. So, you know, it fits in with the town's push towards being a healthier community. And really good signage, of which I'm happy to pay for, really helps to say, this is important to us, please don't do this here. And how we've done this with June Dairy Days, for example, in their park, similar to Bay Days, is we've bought sandwich board signs. So for an event where there's a lot more people and a lot less control over what people do, we put out new and different signs so that it's clearer, right?
Then you get, I mean, the citizen enforcement officer that has no power but says, hey, you see the sign, please put it out. And that's, I don't want to make this a referendum on smoking totally. I mean,
well, part of it
it's a
becomes a, I wouldn't say a referendum, it's, you know, it's the old big brother saying, you shall not do this.
Nope, you shall not do this here.
Well,
Continue to do that if you need to.
well, you see, that's it. You know, why not here, why not there? I understand that. And I think it's a bit of overreach I would be in favor of signage to discourage but not prohibit.
It's illegal in this building and within, what, 25 feet of this building? In the garage of
Yeah,
the fire
it's
department?
state law, I think, for public buildings,
State-owned buildings.
state-owned
Yeah,
buildings.
yeah.
Well, we have a town policy that prohibits it from our buildings as well.
Just a question,
Of course.
I have a question. You say here, statewide, it is illegal to use tobacco products in indoor spaces.
Yes,
Is that universal?
yes.
So, inside someone's house?
In Vermont, no, I'm sorry, public inside,
So
public indoors. So in people's houses, that's their own, they get to make their own policies, or not. But public spaces, and hotels, and daycares, schools, all those inside buildings.
Offices?
Oh, yeah. If more than, I think it's more than 2 people work there or something,
Okay,
yeah.
anyway.
I brought Highgate and Alberg's policies if you wanted to see them. I don't know if anybody wants them. I neglected to make copies for everybody.
It's just, I don't wanna debate you guys to
Okay,
death, but
so
we have,
should move on.
So I have a motion on the
You
table.
made a motion, so
yeah, but
any comment from the public on the motion? Okay, so ask for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay?
Nay.
Okay, so the motion fails.
Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
Get some discouraging signs, not prohibiting signs.
I'm happy to pay for those as well.
Okay, that's,
You know, if you, because Swanton put up signs without making an ordinance,
Sure.
and that's fine too.
That's what I'm hearing as a consensus.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's put some signs
yeah,
up.
it's, discourage.
Discourage, be out.
Okay,
Including Bay Day.
Bay Day, whatever, yeah.
There's a lot of people there.
so I will work with you guys on that.
Sure.
I just hope, Bill, that you understand that we all pay people's health insurance, so
I
if they
understand
smoke.
that now, believe me.
Why am I obligated to take care of a person who continues to smoke?
I don't-
Because it's part of the social contract. So we have an obligation to help those of us who are gonna cause increased expenses and pain and suffering.
I look at it more or less as we have a public space down there and we owe it to folks that
So
have.
we voted on it, let's carry on. What's the next, item?
Just a little mini commercial, the St. Albans Museum is hosting a free kids night, that's June 6th. Kids night at the museum, it looks really, I think they did it last year, it was very popular. Also, I got something today from the museum that I sent to you in case you might not have opened it yet.
Oh, the
They're doing their farming and,
new a new exhibit opening today,
is it today?
21st, yep.
It was
Okay.
very good. They were on across the fence today.
Yep, they told us that they
Franklin
taped
Farming
that.
and Franklin
So the
County.
museum has a really good farming in Franklin County exhibit, they've worked on it for a year.
Yeah.
So that's a.
Very interesting.
Yep, a lot of people worked hard on that. And the last thing I have on here is AT&T Mobility sent us a copy. You have a question?
Before you move on from the
Okay.
museum, Bill, I thought you got a communication from the museum that wanted us to discuss us putting on the ballot a increased fee for them, or
No,
increased,
no, let me explain what happened there.
okay.
Charlie Moore, who's the vice president, and Alex Lunig, who's the
Executive Director?
executive director of the museum, came and met with Carrie and me at my house, asking how the town, and indirectly the city, could increase the financial support to the museum. And I said the last support we voted on was, I think, $5,000 a year, which they're continuing to get. And they were looking for significantly more money. And my response to them was, put together a presentation that you can make to both the select board and the city council, and we can take a look and see what you're looking for, why you need it, and so on, and go from there.
Okay.
Rather than just talk to the two of us, put it to the whole select board and at the public meeting, and then it's out and see what happens.
Have they followed up on
They
that?
haven't followed up on it.
Okay,
Okay, so
thank you.
that was it.
Excuse me.
Nope, the last item is just being copied on a AT&T Mobility Certificate of Public Good. They are, I think, upgrading something at the very top of 36 is what.
It's up at, it's up there at on the Gallagher property.
Yes.
Right, okay.
A bunch of antennas at the top of the hill, so that information is at the back of your packet. There's no motion needed on that, but they are required to let us know that they're doing it.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
For the first net.
Pardon?
What?
No. There's a new, also another program that we're not, actually, we don't have enough information to present it to you, but FirstNet is a new program that's coming out for municipalities to increase our ability to talk to each other and,
But AT&T are changing the band on that tower, so
Oh,
I just
okay.
didn't know if that was part of it.
it might be, but I mean, I'm not sure that it's
Okay.
changes the end result. So the next item, is public comment. Is there any public comment?
Gentlemen?
That's true.
So the next item on there is just our meetings. The next select board meeting is June 4th, June 18th. And this office is closed Monday for Memorial Day. And we have training on June 12th.
So, on public comment, I would like to ask that we have, given now that it's 8 o'clock, 10 after 8, that we have an additional select board meeting to discuss policies to govern ourselves on how we deal with decisions of the select board and public comment. So, Bill,
Pardon me?
I've asked for have an extra meeting of the select board in open session to discuss how we as a public body deal with requests for information and the rules around executive session and how we answer requests from the media. Being that now at 8:10, I don't want to start that discussion.
Say again?
Being at 8:10, I don't want to start the discussion.
Oh, no,
now.
I saw your note and I have no intention of starting tonight. And, there are things in the conflict of interest policy and the public, and the personnel policy which address confidentiality.
Not for us. Yes, they do. It does, it does.
Everybody. That's why I made those changes, to make sure it covered everybody. So I proposed those changes. We made the changes.
Right, we just made them right.
Okay. It's okay, and also bearing in mind, in that discussion, we have, the need to shield some of these discussions for legal. We have a lot of reasons for not putting things in the public domain. That'll be part of a discussion.
Does or does not?
Should be part of a discussion.
Yes, I'm agreed with that. Problem is,
There's only one.
seems that everything that we've discussed in public, in executive session, has been out to the media and in public. And now to me, there is confusion among the public of where the hell are we? What are we doing?
Well, that's an issue I'm concerned with, is that, some people don't understand their responsibility to keep things confidential, therefore not to speak outside the forums in which they were discussed. And there's nothing we can do to control somebody from shooting his mouth off. As long as it's qualified that this is my personal opinion, it's not a select board view or whatever. The fact that they're, I hate to use a Trumpism, leaking information, there's nothing we can do about that. That's up to the individual's sense of what his responsibilities are.
But now that we're in a very difficult situation, I would suggest that we need to clarify the town's position vis-a-vis what we have read in the newspaper about what the city has said. And to that degree, we have to agree that we will now start discussing some of those decisions and some of the work that we've done to understand where the town is best served Now let's talk about it publicly. We don't believe in,
Within reason, because, this is, a lot of the things we've been doing has been on advice of counsel. And we'd be damn fools if we didn't follow our counsel's advice. And some of the things that have been suggested could and would put us at a distinct disadvantage.
from my point of view, the judge has got to do it based on law, not on what we talk about.
Well, I'll discuss that with you, not in public, and I'll explain why. Again, I'll go back to our friend, Mr. Trump. I know you're a great fan of his. He has, however you think about these immigration issues, a lot of the court decisions have hinged on what he said a year or two ago and what his intention was. And that impacted quite heavily because he was saying things. And I won't, if you reread the articles that were in the Messenger and some of the things that have been said, one or two could very well have undermined our case and our most recent status hearing. And I'll let it go at that. And I think it's worthwhile for people to discuss it so we understand what our rights and obligations are. And that it's not an open door for everybody to walk in and demand to see everything. On the other hand, it's our obligation to make public things that are of importance to the public, which are not going to compromise our position vis-a-vis a contract or a negotiation.
Going back to my original premise, I can say what I personally believe, and in that personal belief, talk about everything you just said I shouldn't be talking about. That's what I'm saying. We need to have standards for us on where does our individual rights of freedom, because we're elected officials, end.
Well,
Free speech end.
as I said earlier, and there's no way that we can gag you or you can gag me on any topic. I can speak whatever I want, wherever I want. And you read all of this stuff in the confidentiality that we see in these state reports and this and that. The individual, having accepted the office, has what I think is a moral or an ethical obligation to keep confidential things that should be confidential. And they keep saying, however, you cannot limit someone from speaking out. You just can't do it.
May not, but we can definitely, by
We can-
rule, censure a member so that the public knows when the next person comes up for re-election, that his colleagues have disagreements with him on his
Fair enough,
ethics.
you can publicly censure, but it'd be interesting to see how that goes down.
Well, that's what I would suggest.
Right, okay. You can take the lead. So anyway, I think we should talk about it.
I agree.
And if you'll recall, there was, I won't say anything. We'll talk about it.
At the end of the day, I think we might need to pose this question to our council. I mean, and follow their advice. We spend a lot of taxpayer money on legal opinions in regards to how we've conducted ourselves in the last 6 months, and that I think we need to abide by what our council.
Well, there's all this, I agree with you, and in fact, several of the serious requests for information have been denied based on advice of counsel.
Right.
And for that, we're being raked over the coals. Well, that's the way it is. We're following counsel. That's the price we pay for it. Somebody asked me, can you comment to this? Sorry, no, I can't comment. Will you tell me what's in this letter? No, I won't. So at any discussion, we should also have our counsel involved to give us some direction.
So then may I suggest that we have a meeting with our council to discuss this in public of how we should proceed?
Yeah, I think we should.
That's a good idea.
Pardon me?
That's a good idea.
I just said I think we should.
Yeah, I agree
Thank
with
you. You're too far away. You're too young to have hearing problems. Come on.
No, I'm saying I agree.
Anyway.
Let's do it.
So what dates are available?
Why do we need a special meeting? Why can't we do it at a
At a select
regular
board?
select board meeting?
Sure.
Everybody's here,
Want it in a public meeting,
TV's
right.
here. If we're gonna be open and honest, why not do it?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
So when you have a slow agenda, in the next
July.
month or so,
June or late
Yeah.
July?
You know, the thing is, we should not say anything. Anything. I shut my mouth and these other people have gotta talk. They gotta be in the limelight. And I think that's crap.
but that's why I think we need a conversation.
We're gonna have that conversation, and I'll speak the way I speak right now, because I've always shut my mouth on things that we should not be talking about.
It hurts. It's easy for the press to play us off against each other if we're talking out of this room. And that's what bothers me, because we have to have if we're going to lead this town, we have to have a unified policy, and really the chair should be the only spokesperson once we make a decision. And that's not what we have.
I agree with you.
How the hell do we get there? That's the question. And I don't care about individual freedom. If you're elected, you surrender some of that freedom.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I hear you and I agree with you.
God.
But people are still going to do it. And other than public censure, there's nothing you can do. You can't remove.
That's why I didn't sign. That's exactly why.
Well,
I love rules and regulations.
I'll drop it.
No, it's.
I'm not dropping it
Don't
tonight.
drop it. Don't drop it tonight. And
Clarification, just for this evening.
okay.
I think that's it. Did you want an did you need an executive session?
No, we
I
don't need it.
believe so.
No, not needed.
One piece of other
That's where we
business.
get in trouble. We should have minimal.
Okay, you have some other business?
Yeah, one unrelated piece. We got a report from Anna about
Yes.
the local option tax. We just received our fourth quarter of this fiscal year on the 16th of May for $189,099.05, meaning that in FY18, the local option tax generated a revenue stream of $856,928.17. That is the best year we've had by about $40,000 over last year. Our total infrastructure LOT fund sits at $2,897,628.67. Public bulletin. That's all. I just
Okay,
wanted
thank
to-
you.
wanted to say it out
And we have to talk about that too, 'cause we constantly get in problems where somebody wants to take $1 million, $2 million. This board said, Bill, you were,
When we put this forward, when we sold it to the public, I put my hand on my heart and said, we will not spend any of this money without voter approval. And even though that's not written in the article the way it was passed, I think those of us who were involved agreed this is too much money to fool around with. This is public money that's going to be spent for public purposes.
I agree. I'm not
The
having a
open,
problem.
okay.
Yeah, there's plenty of, I agree with that also.
When I get on my soapbox, I have to do something where I say it.
and I agree, Bill,
Thank you.
no one denies, but when it came time to give some away, it depended on
Yeah, the
where.
other thing I think, when we go to the public for spending, let's just say even 100,000 of that $2 million,
Whatever it is.
we have to also explain what the balance is going to be used for, or what the possibilities are.
For example, you heard me, I ducked around the question of the DPW new construction. My expectation is that would be paid for with local option tax revenues. And that's be my proposal, to put it on the ballot that way. But that doesn't mean you just spend like crazy. You have to be pretty parsimonious in what we're investing. And also, as we go forward, we have some other big projects, Town Hall, That would be another candidate. I mean, I don't know what else there would be, some big ones that come down the pike. And this one is intended for big money.
Right, and the only thing I would add to you, though, is that if we're looking at like 5 years where we know we'll have a DPW building, we presume we're gonna have a town hall,
Sure.
and buying the land and all the other stuff that goes with it, that we then, as best we can, create a capital plan for those expenses, to make sure that we have enough money in here, or if we don't, then how do we wanna play with the interest rates or whatever you wanna do?
Sure, I mean, you
For
can say,
supplemental.
if we're going forward and we have so-called excess funds, you can say, we're gonna be reserving these for these capital
New
items.
projects, right.
This list that we're looking at. And this will grow over time.
Right.
And if we have a shortfall, things will have to be made up with, general revenue or something. If suddenly we need a firehouse,
Right.
and we don't, we have to do it tomorrow, this is a cushion. And the other thing about this local option tax, aside from having money on hand, it also, you can demonstrate a very good cash flow over time. This can be very beneficial for supporting a future bond,
Yep.
a revenue bond, so
Exactly.
it reduces risk. So this makes the life in the future a lot easier, a lot better. We can manage our business better.
I agree, but all my point is that we need to help educate the public.
Oh, sure.
Why we're doing it this way versus that way, spending it
Sure.
all.
I mean, it's there and it's there for a purpose.
Right.
That's all. I mean, some people say, well, let's give it back as a tax bonus. Well, wait a minute, it's not intended for that.
Right.
And people will have seen, as we go forward, if we have a surplus, we tend to give it back, one way or another.
This is not a surplus.
No, I said, in the past, we have
Right,
put
I know,
surplus and
I know.
give it back, so. Anyway. If we have nothing else, I would entertain anything else. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Saying aye, okay. Bruce, you missed a good meeting. Thank you.